G'day guys, kia ora, huidag. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, everybody knows, every week I come out to this show and I tell every one of you that the Wallabies is the #1 ranked team in the world in my heart. And yeah, unfortunately for me, the Wallabies had basically the worst year in its 126 years history, losing 10 tests in one calendar year. And this is the first time since 1958 they lost all their games in the Wallabies Spring Tour. Now the story, the excuse coming out of the camp and the Stan Sport commentary as well is the fact that they play 15 games this year and they think that's too much. I actually disagree, and I really hope that they continue to schedule close to 15 games a year at the end of the tour. And I'm not saying that the A team needs to play 15 games. I'm saying that they should have a squad that can play 15 games at the end of the year, and they should continue to strive for that. Because I think, the French, if you look at the top 14, they play 20 to 25 games, depending on how much rest they get, with the top 14 and the European Championship combined. And that's without test matches, already at 20 games, 20 to 25 games. And then if you add the test matches on top, some of them could be reaching 30 games, right? And obviously the players that play test matches gets more breaks, so they probably won't be 30, probably be like 20, 25 as well. But, that's the sort of ballpark you're looking at in terms of the experience that each player are exposed to. And if you look at the Australian sides, we're only playing 10 to 12 games in Super Rugby because we get eliminated basically immediately. And then we add 15 games of test matches on top. It's about on par of how much the French is playing in a year, right? So yeah, if we drop our test matches down to 9 or 10, suddenly the French will be playing just more games than us every year. And, if they play 5 extra games more than us every year at Tier 1 and Tier 1 plus level, over 4 years, that's 20 test caps that we're missing out on our players. Over, our players of 23, you can, that's a lot of test caps. That's like what? Like 400 something test caps missing over 4 years because we play 5 less games than the French. You're right? Like, it's a lot of games accumulated over a lot of players if we let this drop off. So I don't think that's a good read to look at it. And also, the All Blacks has been playing, 15 test matches every year since COVID, basically. If not, I don't know about before that. But they've been playing a lot of games as well. And so it's not like Joe Smith saying he's never done it before, but it's not like unprecedented. Like, no one has never done it before. Like, the All Blacks has been doing it pretty much consistently in recent years. So it's not out of the question. It's not impossible. But I understand that Lions Tour is a little bit hard. But, I do think that we either have to increase Super Rugby season longer, or we're going to have to continue with a longer test season to just compete in terms of game time with the Nautilus. Otherwise, we're just going to get worse and worse. I'm sorry. It's just how it works. If you play fewer games, if you're losing 5 caps every year to your French opposite number, you're never going to keep up, right? So yeah, and also something that I want to point out as well. Again, I feel like there's another reason, in my opinion, I talked about this last week, it's the internal culture issue at the Wallabies. Same thing with here. If you have coaches come out and saying that, we feel tired, and if that's the kind of feeling as a player you're getting from your coaches and everybody's tired, you're not going to perform at 100%. You're going to play like you're tired, right? Whereas if you have a culture where you feel like the Wallabies is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, then, then you are more likely to push through. It's a mental, I feel like it's a mental barrier for a lot of the Wallabies players rather than actually physical. One thing I just want to point out here is Ojomo, the guy that played his second test for England on the weekend against Argentina, absolutely outstanding. Basically, he talked about how he really value this opportunity that's given to him. He's worked years trying to get to the England starting team in a big test match. And he basically spent the night before, the day before, 24 hours isolated in his hotel room studying tapes because he really wanted to do well against Argentina because he felt like this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. And I don't know if, like I said in my Wallabies review, I don't know if anybody in the Wallabies feel like there's a once in a lifetime opportunities for them, and their position is in jeopardy of losing it should they not perform. Yeah, I just think that it's a culture thing rather than the number of test matches being played. Let me know your thoughts. It is up to debate. So yeah, the Rugby World ranking has been locked in for the Rugby World Cup. 25 teams, top 24 team has been added in. Belgium, despite being number 21, did not make the qualifications. So Canada, all the way down to Canada, have been qualified. Namibia has missed out on qualifications, and then I'm pretty sure Samoa has made it in is it Namibia? Yeah, has made it instead. So it's good to see that Samoa has made it, because there was a really close call. If they miss out, if they lose that final match, I think it was against Namibia, they would have been eliminated for the first time from Rugby World Cup. And rugby is like their national sport. Like, they love rugby so much. To miss that Rugby World Cup would have been just devastating for them. So these are the teams that has been. Let's make it a bit bigger. Maybe can you see a bit better? These are the teams. Let's just do it from here. These are the teams that's made it in the Rugby World Cup. Actually, this is probably better. So, and these are the bands, right? The number 1 band is top 6. Number 2 is second 6. 3 is next 6. And 4 is the 6 after that, minus Belgium. So South Africa, number 1. New Zealand, number 2. England, number 3. Ireland, number 4. France, number 5. Argentina, number 6. Australia, number 7. Fiji, number 8. Scotland, number 9. Italy, number 10. Wales, number 11. Japan, number 12. So the teams in your band would not be put into your pool, essentially. So thank God, Wales and Wallabies and Fiji are finally not going to be in the same pool, guaranteed for the next Rugby World Cup. And then these teams will be added. So there's basically going to be 6 pools, and each pool will have 4 teams, and each team will be drawn from each one of the bands by random. Australia is guaranteed to be in Pool A, so that's one thing that's locked in. But everything else is up to random. So any of the teams could be put in the same pool as Australia. But from the looks of it, the last 6 pools, so E and F, the last 2 pools, might have an easier run to the quarterfinals. To the semifinals. So yeah, if Ireland gets one of those 2 pools, they're very likely to finally break their quarterfinal, voodoo. And then make it into the semi-final for the first time ever, because they'll basically play teams from Band 2, or most likely teams from Band 2 all the way to the semi-final. Whereas if you're in the other 4, you're guaranteed to play a team from Band 1 in the quarterfinal, which is pretty much a 50-50 discrimination, 50-50 elimination game. So yeah, much easier in my opinion for some of the guys. The Rugby Awards has been given out. Malcolm Marx becomes another South African to win the award. He's one of the very few forwards who actually gets the nod for the award. The breakthrough player of the year is Fabian Holland from New Zealand. I thought because I'm pretty sure Swali is in this, but yeah, he's not announced as the winner. So I do think the Swali probably not that great, to be honest. But yeah, it is. Yeah, it is interesting. I thought Holland, huh? Can you think of someone else debuting better than Holland? Other than Swali potentially taking the title? Maybe not, hey. Maybe not. Maybe Holland is the guy. Yeah, anyway, let me know your thoughts about that. Try of the year, Chile versus Samoa. But yeah, I don't know about that one. The coach of the year is John Mitchell, who coached the Red Rose, the England women's team, to the World Cup final to win the World Cup. So yeah, that's fair enough. And then we've got Holly Davison as the referee of the year. I thought Gardner probably would have taken it, but Holly has been pretty decent overall. Outside of that, let's have a look at the men's 15 Dream Team. Coming number 1, Ox Enche. I think that's good. Malcolm Marx number 2, fair enough. Thomas Dutoit, fair enough. After his demolition work on the weekend, especially. Mario Toji, number 4. Ooh. Let me know your thoughts on that. Ty Burn, number 5, fair enough. The Lions player of the year. Peter Sef Dutoit, number 6, fair enough. Tom Curry, the Wit. Can't say that word on YouTube. We'll look at him in a minute later on in the news. But number 7, I really think that Fraser McRae did better than him this year. That's not me being biased towards Wallabies. Fraser McRae has basically been carrying the Wallabies team. And I really felt he's better than Tom Curry, number 7. Even Sia Khaleesi, you know, I know it's basically an open fight. You could argue Sia Khaleesi has done a better job there. But yeah, I'm surprised to see Tom Curry here. Number 8, Harry Wilson. I'm surprised to see Wilson here. Wilson was outstanding for about half the year and then just really kind of fell off a little bit. But if it wasn't for that first half of the year, I thought Wilson was firmly in the run for being number 8 of the year. In terms of who should get this role, that is a good question. That's a really, really good question. Visa had a red card. If he didn't get the red card, he might be number 8 of the year. Wagga Smith coming off the bench, always good. Maybe Ben Earl could potentially be the guy for number 8 of the year. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. I mean, Doris has been injured as well. So Conan has been, you know, juggling that jersey with him when Doris came back. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Number 8 of the year. Who do you think it should be? Number 9, Cameron Roygar. Yep, that's good because Dupont is injured. Sasha, hands down, yes. Bill Bieri, number 11, yes. Lenny Kittel, 12. Over there, Linda? Ooh, that's a tough call. That's a tough call. And yeah, that's a tough call. Even some of the even some of the Irish centers I thought might be able to challenge the 12 jersey. Hugh Jones, again, I thought it was brilliant for the Lions tour, but then he's injured in November. I feel like, yeah, maybe someone else could be better at 13. Jesse Krill. Yeah, I don't know about Hugh Jones here. Number 14, Cheslin Kobe, sure. Number 15, I thought maybe Jorgensen could be number 14, to be honest. I thought Jorgensen was outstanding. 15, Will Jordan. Yeah, I'm not sure about Will Jordan at 15 either. I thought, surely Ramos is a 15, right? Surely Ramos is 15. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on these selections. Yeah, so a lot of you guys, you know, again, was talking to me about South Africans game with Ireland, and you guys told me to watch some of the scrums in the second half because you guys felt like these scrums were the Irish were cynical after my scrum analysis. Yeah, like I said in my analysis, you could potentially say that's cynical because, you know, Ireland had in the first half shown that they were struggling in the scrum, and the scrum just kind of went down. You can see Porter maybe you know pulling down a little bit here, but like I said, if this happens immediately without the scrum going forward, it's actually a pretty hard call for the referee to give that as a straight penalty, which is why the referee just said take the ball out. And I think the Ireland basically, yeah, you know, like it or not, did what they needed to do to avoid the disaster they had in the first half. And they made the call difficult. Most likely, yeah, it was probably because Porter under pressure, but they made the call really, really difficult for the referee. And there's no, yeah, and it is, they, yeah, you know, you can say that's cynical. It is how you deal with it, unfortunately. And this is just the way you gotta, yeah, this is, you know, you gotta play the referee. That's something that, you know, you think back to the days of Richie McCaw, you gotta play the referee. You can say whatever you want. If the referee don't agree with you, there's only one person that matters, right? And if they can convince the referee, this is a 50-50 call and it's not their fault, they've achieved what needs to be done to get the job done. And that is the most important. It's getting the job done for their nations. And South Africa, obviously breaking the hoodoo, 13-year hoodoo against Dublin. This is the first time in Ireland as well for Rassie. So yeah, really, really happy. And Rassie was very happy, giving the thumbs up. People say that it was taunting. I didn't think so. I thought it looked like he was maybe giving his players thumbs up on the field. And maybe some people, you know, definitely looked like he was happy and not did it in a taunting way. People were suggesting it was a taunting. I didn't think that was the case. But yeah, it's a pretty big win for the South Africans and very, very brutal, making a statement to the opposition, to everybody around the world. Just the dominance and brutality and the scrummaging prowess that the Springboks have. For the Irish team, there's a number of injuries come out of this as well. Mainly Ryan Baird was injured, potentially out of the Six Nations to I think it was a shoulder injury, leg injury, and Jamie Osborne has been ruled out from the week before with a shoulder injury already. So, yeah, James Ryan with his shoulder charged into the ruck had a 20-minute red card. He is suspended for 3 weeks, and yeah, it is, you know, some of you guys were, we will talk about this. The decision making on the field is inconsistent with what happened in previous 2 weeks. The 2 red cards with South Africans, which basically said that if the move was always illegal and is dangerous to the head, should just be a full send-off, not a 20-minute red. But I do think that a 20-minute red in this situation is a better way to go at it. I think the previous 2 weeks was a little bit inconsistent with the way that the 20-minute red card is designed and the way it's operating in Super Rugby. I thought they were just going to, make a stance and completely go for a different direction based on what we saw in the 2 red cards against the South Africans. But unfortunately, this, again, World Rugby just being inconsistent with how they rule these things. But at least the way that they uphold this, the James Ryan version, I like it and I want to see it consistent. Let's move on. Eddie Jones. Borthwick. I almost lost my thought here. Borthwick will not be getting an automatic extension beyond the 2027 Rugby World Cup, despite his really, really good performance this year. Only losing 1 game in the Six Nations. Didn't quite win the Six Nations because of lack of bonus points. But yeah, it's been on a bit of a 11-game winning streak. It's been 11-test winning streak. It's really turned the team around. And if he can win the Six Nations this year, boy, that'll be complete the rebirth of England rugby under Borthwick. So yeah, and he's got coaching issues as well. He had coaches leave from his camp. Felix Jones joined and then left. So it's definitely not an easy run for Borthwick to get to where he is, and he's done an absolutely outstanding job. RFU, however, says they're not going to be instantly giving him an extension. So England rugby overall has reported a 30% rise in revenue. Really reduced their losses. Lost like 40 million last year, and then they only lost 1 million this year. I think that's the 1 million this year, 1.9 million this year. And then Bill Sweeney has taken a pay cut as well. Despite losing 40 million last year, they were 42 million last year. He was still getting massive bonuses, so definitely brought down a little bit. But overall, this is a quite nice turnaround for England rugby. So they are really one of the issue with England rugby, and I haven't read their reports. They talk about here most of their revenue comes from ticket sales, and they wanted to move outside of rugby to try to present Twickenham as a premier destination for music festivals and stuff to make a bit more money. But yeah, one of the reasons is that they've actually, just like the Scotland rugby team, rugby union, they've actually sold the TV right revenue to other other companies to get the upside. So they have like a guaranteed flat fee, and then the upside goes to another party. So a lot of the high revenue stuff in terms of TV commercials, they actually don't get much of that. They get a guarantee. But so the only place they can actually get a variable income is from ticket sales. But I do think it's a good way to go to actually expand the stadium usage to other things other than rugby. And I think that is a way for them to squeeze out some extra earnings. So yeah, we'll see if Sweeney can turn this around, but definitely a huge return to form for England rugby, considering 2 clubs went under last year as well due to bad debt from COVID. So England has another injury here. Tom, I don't know how to say this guy's name. Roebuck, right? It's Roebuck, Roe v. Wade, Roebuck. Tom Roebuck is out for 10 weeks, and he's going to be missing out 6 Nations. But I think, the new guy, Ojomo, is pretty good anyway, so I want to see more of him anyway. Joey Merchant is looking at a run at Rugby World Cup for England here. He's returning. Now, this one, I thought it was a little bit poor form from the Lions. So Rugby 360 is this rogue, rugby, Saudi money, I think. And they're throwing big contracts around to get people to play, including the women's. Now, I think I understand the men's game. You wanted to, keep people from play domestically, not going overseas to play in Rugby 360. So there's a lot of the nations that come out, like England, Ireland, Scotland, basically said, hey, if you go, we're not going to be selecting you for national teams. The Rugby League come out, we'll ban you for 10 years. But the Lions has come out and said, we're going to ban you from the Women's Lions Tour for the women's. Some of these women's basically play as a semi-professional. So if they can get a contract at RS360 for a much bigger pay, or like a proper professional contract, it's really good for the women's game. It's not the same as men where they already get millions of dollars. The women's game, a lot of them, they don't even get, they have to do a second job to actually sustain themselves. So this injection of money and opportunity for the women's team is actually really good for them. And for the Lions to come out and basically chokehold on the women's side, I think this is fucking disgraceful, to be honest. Excuse my French. Really, really disgraceful from the Lions to actually cut off the women's from doing that. The men's team, sure, whatever. But for the women's, this is an action and opportunity span on the sport. But yeah, a little bit disgraceful. So the Wallabies schedule has come out for the next year. And obviously, you know, the Rugby Championship has been shortened a little bit because New Zealand's going to go. It's actually not shortened that much. New Zealand's going to South Africa for the tour. So yeah, the schedule is basically we've got Ireland, France, and Italy at home for the July Nations Champions Cup for the home games, and then the 3 home games, and then we'll be playing Japan. 2 games, 1 going home, 1 away. I really want to see this. This is really good for the Wallabies, and these will be the first games for Let's Kiss. Last game for what's his name? Last game for Joe Schmidt will be against Italy in July, and then the Rugby Championship come around. Championship quotes will be 2 games in Argentina, and then 1 game against the Springboks here at home, and then 2 games against the All Blacks for the Wallabies World Cup. 1 at home at Sydney and 1 away in New Zealand. So yeah, so really interesting. So the New Zealand will be obviously going to South Africa for that 4-test tour. We might have a chance to win Split next year because the All Blacks will be tired. They have to go. They literally have to play in South Africa 4 weeks in a brutal tour, and then they're gonna go to Twickenham to play the 4th test, or maybe America for the 4th test, even worse for time zone. And then they're gonna come back and play the Bledisloe in New Zealand. Boy, that's bad. Oh, maybe I should go to New Zealand again next year to watch this one. Anyway, and then in November, only 3 tests for the Wallabies. England, Scotland, and Wales. So in total, 13 tests for next year. So like, you know, it's not crazy, right? 5 plus 5, 10, 13. Yeah, 13 tests. It's not, again, 15 this year. Don't sound that crazy considering next year's 13. And it's not that bad. But anyway, moving on about the All Blacks. Scott Robertson came out and talked about the future of the All Blacks. I thought, again, really interesting some of the stuff that he talks about. So first off, James Ryan came out and basically said, yeah, you know, made some mistakes and should do better in terms of as the forwards coach and scrum coach. I thought the scrum's definitely a little bit off compared to last year. So he's admitted that. But for Scott Robertson, you never really hear him take a responsibility for anything, right? He always, whenever there's a responsibility, he always uses like we, us, you know, it's like everybody's fault, not his fault. He never really takes on responsibility for himself, whereas pretty sure Ian Foster used to take responsibility for himself. And one thing you can tell is that he basically came out, people were talking about, you know, his contract and stuff. He basically saying that he's got great backing from David and the board, and we've got a good crew behind us. I'm excited. So he's basically says that he's got backing from New Zealand Rugby. He's not, his job is safe, right? I thought this was really interesting because Ian Foster did not have the backing of New Zealand Rugby, but he had the backing of the players. The captain, the players came out publicly, backed him to go to the Rugby World Cup in 2023. So yeah, a little bit interesting to say the least. Let me know your thoughts. You know, I did speak to a lot of the Canterbury fans. They all think that Robertson's going to turn this around, so never count him out. He has won numerous Super Rugby championships for the Crusaders, so there's a lot of confidence in him, giving him time. But I just think that's a little bit interesting. A little interesting to say that, and a big contrast from what Fozzie was operating under during his time. So yeah. Apparently, after the really, really close game between England and Argentina, there was a bit of a fight in the tunnel. So basically Tom Curry, the white, can't say that word in YouTube, right? Did a lay shot on Juan Cruz Malia and basically hurt his leg, and it was taken off, and Argentina had to play with 14 players for the end of the game. But most importantly, obviously, Juan Cruz Malia has an ACL injury as a result for the late hit. There was a bit of a scuffle on the field between the player and Tom Curry, and as he walked off, apparently, allegedly, Felipe Contepomi, the coach, approached him and said, "Hey, our player's injured, right?" And then Tom Curry, let me just get the exact quote here, so I don't want to just say things. So Contepomi said, "Man, you broke our player's knee," and Tom Curry replied, "Fuck off," and pushed Felipe Contepomi in the tunnel. And Felipe is just like, that is low. You're like, you put your hands on me like that. That is low. So yeah, this now the Argentinians are demanding a response. Yeah, ACL for late hit, and Tom Curry, boy. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that came out and accused himself being the victim of racism from South Africa. The white, can't say that word on YouTube, incident. And now he's, really being exposed a little bit for someone that's maybe not as pure as he would like to pretend to be. Yeah, that's if this is indeed true, I mean, I highly doubt Contepomi will lie about this. Yeah, but it is pretty poor form from Tom Curry. Anyway, moving on. So we'll see how this go. So we're gonna talk about this. There was another game on the weekend. There was a bit of a history there. Tom Rogers became the first person, basically ever, from British and Irish part of the world to score a hat-trick against the All Blacks. And despite scoring a hat-trick, still lost 52 points to 26. Big flogging on the Welsh, but still, I mean, scoring 26 points against the All Blacks is, that's actually quite an impressive feat from Wales. So yeah, we'll see how the Welsh go against the Springboks this weekend. And finally, Malo Tuilangi wants to head off to another World Cup, and he's looking at playing for Samoa. That is the news for today. Thanks for watching. 31 minutes. It's been way too long. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts. Have a good one. Cheers.